an internal friction comes into play. We have this to be as a fluid. It means we have as a fluid. For example, we have as a river. We have as a river flowing. So we have the river flowing. So it means, let's say that a frictional force comes into play. Now, when we say when a river is flowing, there will be a frictional force which acts on it. So that frictional force which acts on it, now for the river is flowing, there'll be the different layers of the river which flowing. So now the viscosity, it means the property of the fluid or of the liquid of which an internal frictional force, which this frictional force comes into play when the fluid is in motion. It means when the fluid is in motion, the frictional force comes into play in the form of layers having a relative motion between the layers. So this we call it as the viscosity, and this viscosity is also called as the fluid friction. So now again, let me just repeat again. What is viscosity? It means viscosity is the property of the fluid. It means by virtue of which if a frictional force which comes into play when the fluid is in motion. So when the fluid is in motion in the form of layers, they will having a relative motion between them. This we call it as viscosity. So in related with viscosity, we have another term, the terminal velocity. So now what is terminal velocity? It means the maximum constant velocity. So the maximum constant velocity acquired by a body when freely falling in a viscous fluid. It means, let us say that a liquid is falling freely. This we call it as a freely falling fluid. A freely falling fluid in a viscous fluid. When it reaches the bottom, it will have the maximum constant velocity. So that maximum constant velocity acquired by a body when freely falling in a viscous fluid, this we call it as the terminal velocity.